There's a moment that happens in millions of homes every evening, somewhere between 5 and 7 p.m., that almost no one has ever truly stopped to watch. You come home. Your dog meets you at the door. And before anything else, before the nuzzle, before the tail, before the beautiful chaos of a dog who's been waiting all day, they stop. Front legs slide forward. Back end rises. They hold that posture for 3, maybe 4 quiet seconds. And then they look up at you. The whole thing is over before you've set down your bag. You've seen it so many times, it's become wallpaper. Just a thing they do. But something extraordinary is happening inside your dog's body in those 4 seconds. A release of neurochemicals, a shift in the nervous system, a signal their species spent 15,000 years learning to send. Not to other dogs, not to strangers, not even to wolves who
You're
share
such a
nearly
good
all of
dog.
their DNA.
Yes, you
But
are.
have never, in any study ever conducted, done this for a human being. Only for you. The stretch your dog does when you walk through that door is one of the most intimate things one species has ever evolved for another. And most owners will live their whole lives with a dog they love deeply and never know what they were being told. This is what they were saying. Now, if you're like most dog owners, you've already got an explanation for the stretch, a comfortable one. Maybe you think it's just loose muscles after lying around all day. Maybe it's happiness, pure joy their body can't quite contain. Or maybe it's something they picked up over time, a little routine that stuck because you always smiled when they did it. All 3 of those feel reasonable, and all 3 of them are missing the most important part. Here's where the muscle theory falls apart. Your dog doesn't stretch like this when your partner comes home, or your kids, or the friend who's been coming over every weekend for 3 years. If it were purely physical, just a body shaking off stillness, it'd happen for anyone who walked in. It doesn't. The stretch is selective. And anything that selective isn't random. It's a choice. Even if it's not a conscious one. The happiness theory is closer. But it still doesn't explain why this specific posture, this specific timing, this specific direction. Dogs show happiness in a dozen different ways. Spinning, vocalizing, bringing you a shoe, doing 3 laps around the coffee table. This one is different. It's precise, almost ceremonial. That kind of precision doesn't come from emotion alone. It comes from something older. And the learned behavior theory that they just figured out you liked it, so they kept doing it, doesn't hold up either. Wolf puppies raised alongside humans attempt similar greeting gestures. They don't produce the same response. The gap between what a dog does and what a wolf does in that moment has nothing to do with training. It has to do with 15,000
We considered
years
several
of
possibilities,
something that runs
but the
much
muscle
deeper
theory, while
than a
intriguing,
learned
simply didn't
habit.
hold up. So the central question remains,
Here's the truth
why?
most people never hear. You could spend 12, 15 years with a dog you adore, see that stretch
Hey
every
there,
single
sweetie.
evening,
Did you have
and
a
never
good day?
understand what was
I'm so
actually
glad to be
happening.
home.
That's not a failure of love. It's a failure of information. And that's the only reason we're here. By the time this is
Hey,
over,
buddy.
you won't
Did
be
you
able to
miss
look at
us?
those 4 seconds the
Look
same
at
way.
him. He's so happy.
You'll understand what triggers
I'm
them,
home.
what they cost
Did
your
you
dog
miss me,
emotionally,
boy?
and why out of every living creature on this planet, that moment is reserved almost
Hi there.
entirely for
Look
you.
at that tail go.
To
I
understand
missed you,
why,
boy.
you have to go inside your dog's brain. Literally. In 2014, researchers at Emory University in Atlanta did something that had genuinely never been done before. They trained dogs, regular pet dogs, not lab animals, to lie completely still inside an fMRI machine. Fully awake, no sedation, no restraints, just lying there, calm enough to hold still while the scanner mapped their brain activity in real time. It took months of preparation.
This golden light represents pure happiness, gathering around
But what they
a curious
found was
soul.
worth it. They presented each dog with 5 different scents. Their own scent, a familiar dog, an unfamiliar dog, a familiar human who wasn't their owner, and their owner. Then they watched what happened in the brain. The reward center,
There he
the
is.
caudate nucleus,
Daddy,
the
look,
same
he
region that
missed
lights up
us.
in human brains when
Come
we
here, boy.
anticipate something we love, something we've been waiting for, responded most strongly to one scent, not food, not another dog, their owner's scent. The person who comes home at 6:47 and drops their bag by the door. You. The response was consistent enough, measurable enough, that the researchers described it as comparable to what you'd see in a human brain, experiencing the anticipation of someone they're deeply attached to, not fond of, not comfortable around, attached to, the kind of attachment that shows up in the brain like a light switching on. Think about that for a second. Your dog has a place in their brain, an actual, documented, measurable place that exists for you. And every time you come home, that place wakes up. That waking is the starting gun for everything that happens next, including the stretch. So what is the stretch, really, if it's not about muscles? Here's what's happening in those 4 seconds. The moment your dog's brain registers your scent, your face, the particular sound of your key turning, cortisol drops. That's the stress hormone that's been quietly running in the background all day. The low hum of a nervous system waiting for something it needs. It doesn't crash. It releases, the way a held breath finally lets go. And at the same time, oxytocin rises. The whole body shifts at a chemical level from waiting to safe. The stretch is that shift made visible. It moves through them like a slow wavefront, legs reaching forward, spine lengthening, the back end rising last. 4 seconds of a nervous system exhaling. Your dog isn't stretching their body. They're releasing 9 hours of waiting. That's not a metaphor. That's the physiology. And once you see it that way, once you understand that those 4 seconds are your dog's nervous system physically moving from tension to relief, in the exact moment you appear, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes one of the most honest things any living creature has ever done in your presence. They couldn't hide it if they tried. There's no performance in a cortisol drop. There's no acting in oxytocin. It just happens because you walked in. Now, here's where it gets older, much older. In 1914, construction workers in Bonn-Oberkassel, Germany, broke open something buried beneath the ground that no one expected to find: a grave. Inside, the skeletal remains of a man, a woman, and a dog. All 3 together, not accidental. Deliberate, careful, intentional. The grave was dated to approximately 14,200 years ago. Before agriculture, before written language, before the oldest cities anyone has ever excavated, 14,000 years ago. Someone decided to lay a dog to rest beside the people they loved. But that's not what stopped researchers. What stopped them was the condition of the dog's bones. Analysis showed the animal had suffered from severe canine distemper, a debilitating illness that struck when the dog was roughly 19 weeks old. The disease would have been prolonged, ugly, and the dog survived it, which means someone nursed it through. Someone fed it when it couldn't eat, sat with it, kept it warm, kept it alive through weeks, possibly months, of an illness that would otherwise have killed it. And then, when it finally died, buried it the way you bury someone you love. 14,000 years ago, a human being chose a sick dog over the easier path of letting it go. And here's the line I keep coming back to. The stretch your dog does at 6:47 every evening is the direct descendant of that relationship. Not symbolically, neurologically, in the actual architecture of how your dog's brain processes the fact of you. That grave in Germany and the moment at your front door are the same thing, separated by 14 millennia and expressed through a 4-second gesture instead of stone and earth. You're not just an owner. You're the continuation of something ancient. So how do you know if what your dog is doing is that? The real thing. The reconnection ritual. Not just a coincidental stretch at the wrong moment. There are 4 signs. And if you know your dog at all, you'll recognize them the second I say them. The first is selectivity. The stretch happens for you, not for everyone who walks through that door for you. Not your roommate, not your sister who visits every other week, not even, in many cases, your partner. If the behavior is reserved, if it belongs specifically to the moment of your return, that's not habit, that's distinction. Your dog has sorted the whole world and put you in a category by yourself. The second is eye contact. After the stretch, they look at you. Not past you, not around you, at you. Direct, soft, held just a beat longer than you'd expect. That gaze in the first moments of reunion carries its own neurological weight. And we'll get there. But notice it the next time it happens. It's not accidental. The third is how the body looks. A reconnection stretch is loose. The spine is relaxed, not arched, not rigid. The tail moves low and slow, at or below the line of the back, easy and unhurried. The overall quality of the movement is almost ceremonial, measured. Tension anywhere in the body, a stiff tail, a tight jaw, a rigid spine changes the meaning entirely. And the fourth is what happens after. The stretch is the opening. What follows is your dog closing the distance. A paw across your foot. A forehead pressed into your thigh. The warm weight of their whole side leaning into yours. They open the door with the stretch. Now they're walking through it. If all 4 of those things are true for your dog, and I'd guess they are, or you wouldn't still be here, then what you've been watching every evening isn't a habit. It's a greeting that evolution built specifically for the moment you come home. Now, there's something published in 2022 that I need to tell you about. because it quietly changed everything we thought we understood about what dogs feel when they see us. Researchers at Azabu University in Japan were studying the bond between dogs and their owners, specifically how oxytocin moves through that relationship. They already knew it rose during eye contact. They already knew it rose during physical closeness. But in 2022, they decided to measure something no one had thought to look at before: tear production. They used the same standardized test ophthalmologists use on human patients: a small strip of absorbent paper placed at the lower eyelid to measure moisture. They tested dogs after separation from their owners, then after reunion, and they found that dogs produced significantly more tears during reunion, specifically with their owner. Not with a familiar person who wasn't their owner. Not with another dog they loved. Their owner. The tears were real, measurable, consistent across dogs. And when the researchers administered oxytocin directly, tear production went up further, confirming that the emotional experience of seeing their person was triggering a genuine physical response in the tear glands. Your dog cries when they see you. We just never thought to look. And here's what ties it all together. The tears and the stretch don't happen in sequence, like items on a list. They happen simultaneously, inside the same 4 to 6 seconds, as one coordinated whole-body event. The brain registers you, the reward center fires, oxytocin surges, cortisol drops. The body moves into that long, slow arc. And the eyes, those soft, steady eyes, coming up to find yours, fill just slightly with something you were never supposed to see. Every evening at 6:47, while you were setting down your bag and already thinking about what to make for dinner, there's something I want to sit with you in for a moment. Something most dog owners carry quietly and almost never say out loud. Every morning, you leave. You find your keys, you pick up your bag, and at some point, you move toward that door. And if you love your dog the way I think you do, the way most people watching this do, there's a moment right before you close it. Maybe it lasts a second, maybe longer. That pull in your chest. The guilt. The low, familiar ache of walking out while they're still watching. Maybe it's their face at the window as you back out of the driveway. Maybe it's the sound of them settling back down on the other side of a door you just closed. Maybe it's just the image you carry sometimes, that specific stillness they have when they realize you're actually going. You tell yourself they're fine. You know, rationally, that they sleep most of the day, that they're safe, that they're fed, that they're not suffering. But guilt doesn't run on rationality. It runs on love. And love notices every single leaving. I want to offer you something in exchange for that guilt. Not a dismissal, because it comes from a real and tender place, and it deserves to be treated that way. But a reframe, a true one, built from the same science we've been talking about this whole time. Those 9 hours aren't empty for your dog. They're not 9 hours of confusion or longing or quiet abandonment. What the research on oxytocin and canine attachment actually points to is something more like the opposite. Your dog's system doesn't switch off when you close the door. The bond doesn't go dormant. It continues quietly, steadily, in the background. The way a song keeps running in your head long after the music has stopped. The anticipation of reunion is itself a neurologically active state. Your dog isn't just waiting. They're oriented towards you. The whole day, in some low and wordless way, is pointed at the moment you come back. And the stretch is the proof. Think about what that gesture actually requires. It requires that your return was significant enough neurologically, chemically, in the actual tissue of their body to trigger a full physiological response. It requires that something was being held all day. Tension. Anticipation. The quiet hum of a nervous system waiting for the one thing it needed. And it requires that you, specifically you, not anyone else, were the thing that could release it. You can't train that. You can't fake a cortisol drop. You can't manufacture the kind of oxytocin surge that makes a dog's eyes fill with tears. The body doesn't perform those things. It just does them. When the right person walks through the door, you are not someone who abandoned them for 9 hours. You are the reason the 9 hours had an ending worth stretching for. That is not a small thing. That is, in fact, everything. Now, before we go back to that front door one last time, there's something practical I need you to know. Because there's another posture that looks, at a glance, almost identical to the reconnection stretch. And confusing the two could matter enormously for your dog. It's called the prayer position. Front end low, chest close to the ground, rear end elevated. And from a distance, especially if you're moving quickly or not really looking, it can pass for a greeting stretch. It has a similar shape, a similar suggestion of forward reach. But the differences, once you know them, are unmistakable. In a reconnection stretch, the spine is soft, loose. The tail moves, low and easy, but it moves. The face is open, the eyes are soft, and everything about the posture is oriented toward you. There's a warmth to it, a welcome. In the prayer position, the back is rigid. The tail is still. There's no wagging, no soft eyes, no lean toward you. The dog may be panting without obvious cause. They may seem unable to settle lying down, getting up, shifting, lying down again. And crucially, the posture tends to appear outside of any greeting context. After a meal, in the middle of the night, during what should be a quiet rest. The prayer position is a sign of abdominal pain. It can point to pancreatitis, intestinal obstruction, or, in more urgent cases, bloat, which can become fatal within hours if it's not treated. If you ever see that posture, especially alongside a distended belly, repeated attempts to vomit without bringing anything up, or an unusual, heavy stillness, please call your vet. Don't wait to see if it passes. It's the kind of thing that looks minor right up until it isn't. Soft and loose, tail moving, eyes on you. That's the stretch that means you're home. Rigid and quiet, happening out of nowhere, outside of greeting. That's the one that means something needs your attention. You know the difference now. That knowledge is yours to keep. All right, let's go back to 6:47 p.m. The key turns. You hear the pause. That specific sound. The one you'd recognize anywhere. The quick, soft percussion of nails on hardwood or tile moving toward the door. And then your dog is there. Front leg sliding forward, spine lengthening, the back end rising in that slow, unhurried arc. 3 seconds, maybe 4. And then the eyes come up and find yours. You know now what's happening in that moment. You know their brain's reward center fired the second it registered you were near before you even opened the door. You know cortisol is dropping and oxytocin is rising, and their entire nervous system is shifting right in front of you. From the long tension of waiting into something that can only be described as relief. You know their eyes may be holding a faint wetness, real measurable, documented by researchers at Azabu University, traced directly to the feeling of seeing you again. You know that 14,000 years ago, in a grave in Germany, a human being made a choice that started this whole thread. And you're standing at the end of it. And you know that this stretch, this soft, slow, deliberate, selective stretch isn't for the neighbor. It isn't for the delivery driver. It isn't for anyone who has ever come through that door, except you. It is for you. Only ever for you. You are not just their owner. You are the safest thing in their entire world. And you didn't have to be perfect to earn that. You didn't have to be home every hour, or never lose your patience, or always know exactly what they needed. You just had to come back. Every time. Even on the hard days. Even when you were tired. Even when you were late. You came back. And their body has been keeping that count in the only language it knows. Cortisol and oxytocin, and the soft, ancient arc of a stretch that wolves never learned to make. You are someone's whole world. And they've been showing you that, quietly, every evening, at the front door. Your dog speaks to you every single day in a language made entirely of silence. No words, no sounds, just the weight of a body, the direction of a gaze, the particular shape of a gesture that their species evolved over thousands of years to send in your direction. You just learned to read one of those messages. One of the oldest ones. There are others. Here's one to sit with until next time. You're at your desk, or on the couch, halfway through something that has nothing to do with your dog. And at some point, no announcement, no nudge, no particular reason, they walk over and lie down on your feet, against your leg, or just close enough that their weight is pressing gently, warmly, into yours. They're not asking for anything. Not restless, not whining, not pawing for attention. Just there, warm and still, choosing the exact square of floor that happens to contain you. You probably shift around them without thinking. Maybe you say their name that soft, absent-minded way you do when you're not really talking to them, just letting them know you feel them there. And then you both go back to whatever you were doing. But what is that exactly? If the stretch is how they say you're home, what is the quiet, deliberate weight of a dog pressed against your leg in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday afternoon? That's the next story I'm going to tell you.